You know that moment, the one that wakes you up at 3 a.m.? Something you said, something you did, a decade ago, and your body tenses like it happened yesterday. Why does your brain hold on to embarrassment longer than joy? Why can you barely remember last week's compliment, but perfectly recall that awkward silence from 2015? Let's talk about it. Here's what happens. You're lying in bed, calm, drifting off. Then it surfaces. That time you mispronounced a word in front of everyone, the joke that landed wrong, the question you asked that made the room go silent. And suddenly, you're back there. Your chest tightens, your face gets hot. You can see their faces, hear the silence, feel the heat crawling up your neck. Even though no one else remembers, even though it doesn't matter anymore, your brain treats it like a live threat, like it's happening right now. This isn't weakness. It's not overthinking. It's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do: protect you from social danger. Here's the thing most people miss. Embarrassment isn't just an emotion, it's a survival signal. For most of human history, being cast out of the group meant death. No shelter, no protection, no resources. If the tribe rejected you, you didn't survive the winter. So your brain evolved to treat social rejection like a predator in the grass. And embarrassment? That's the alarm system. It says you violated a social norm. You might be at risk. Fix it. Remember it. Don't do it again. This is why embarrassing memories feel so vivid, so physical, so impossible to shake. They're not stored like regular memories. They're encoded with threat markers. Your amygdala, the brain's fear center, tags them as important, critical, life or death. It floods them with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals act like a highlighter pen on your neural pathways. They make the memory stick. They etch it deeper than anything else that happened that day. You might not remember what you had for breakfast, but you remember every detail of the moment you tripped on stage. So when you replay that moment years later, it's not just a memory, it's a memory your brain thinks could save your life. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your brain doesn't just remember the event, it remembers your interpretation of the event. This is called the self-referential bias. Your brain is wired to pay special attention to information about yourself. Moments where you were the center of attention, where you felt exposed, judged, vulnerable. These get special treatment in memory. But here's the paradox. Everyone else was the center of their own story. They weren't studying you. They were thinking about themselves, what they looked like, what they should say next, whether they seemed smart enough. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. We drastically overestimate how much others notice us. We think we're standing under a burning spotlight, but most people are barely in the audience. They're too busy rehearsing their own lines, worried about their own performance. So that moment you can't forget, the one that haunts you 10 years later, it's entirely possible no one else even stored it. They went home and thought about something they said, not you. Let's go deeper. Why do you remember embarrassment more vividly than happiness? Why does one awkward interaction outweigh 100 smooth ones? Because your brain has what psychologists call a negativity bias. It's fundamentally wired to prioritize threats over rewards. Think of it like this. Imagine your ancestors walking through the forest. One sees a berry, feels joy, stops to appreciate it, eats slowly. Another sees a shadow, feels fear, runs immediately. The one who ran lived longer. The one who stopped to savor the moment, maybe not. Over hundreds of thousands of years, we became descendants of the cautious ones, the paranoid ones, the ones who remembered danger. This is why your brain is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. Positive moments slide off easily. They feel nice, but they don't stick. Negative ones lodge themselves deep. It's not a design flaw, it's evolutionary insurance. Your ancestors who remembered where the danger was survived. Your ancestors who only remembered pleasant things did not. But here's the reframe, and this is crucial. You're not broken for remembering. You're not damaged. You're not mentally weak. You're human. Your brain is doing exactly what it thinks is helpful. It's trying to protect future you from making the same mistake, from feeling that pain again. The problem isn't the memory itself, it's the meaning you've attached to it, the belief that the memory says something permanent about who you are. You think, I'm awkward, I'm unlikable, I'm not enough. I'm the kind of person who says the wrong thing, who doesn't fit in, who embarrasses themselves. But that's not what the memory actually proves. What happened is simply this. You're a social creature with a sensitive alarm system, and that system misfires sometimes, especially in a world that no longer matches the environment it was built for. You don't actually get cast out of the tribe for stumbling over your words. You don't lose access to resources for making an awkward joke, but your ancient brain hasn't gotten the memo. It's still operating on Savannah-era software in a digital age world. So what do? How do you stop the 3 a.m. loop? How do you live with a brain that won't let go? First, understand the mechanism, because once you see how it works, you realize you have more control than you think. When an embarrassing memory surfaces, your brain is running a specific program. Neuroscientists call it reconsolidation. Here's what that means. Every time you recall a memory, you don't just replay it like a video, you actually pull it apart and rebuild it. The memory becomes temporarily unstable, flexible, and in that window it can be changed. Not the facts of what happened, but the emotional weight, the meaning, the charge. This is your opportunity. Step 1. Name the feeling. When the memory comes, your first instinct is to push it away, to distract yourself, to mentally run. Don't. Instead, acknowledge it. Say it out loud if you're alone, or silently in your mind. I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm feeling shame. I'm remembering that moment. This simple act activates your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for observation and regulation, the part that can witness emotion without being consumed by it. It creates psychological distance. You're no longer drowning in the feeling, you're watching it. And that changes everything. Step 2. Zoom out. Ask yourself a different question. Not, why did I do that, which keeps you in shame, but what was I actually afraid would happen? Usually the answer is rejection, judgment, being seen as less than, being exposed as a fraud. Now ask the follow-up. Did that actually happen? Most of the time the answer is no. The catastrophe you imagined never materialized. People didn't reject you. They didn't mock you for years afterward. They probably forgot by the next day. The fear was real, but the outcome wasn't. This practice is called cognitive diffusion in psychology. You separate the thought from reality, the story from the truth. And when you do that, the memory begins to lose its grip. Step 3. Rewrite the meaning. This is where reconsolidation becomes your ally. Your brain originally tagged this memory as dangerous, but you can retag it. You can give it a different label. Ask yourself, what did this moment actually teach me? Maybe you learned to be more thoughtful with your words. Maybe you learned that humility is survivable. Maybe you learned that awkwardness doesn't define you. Maybe you discovered that you're braver than you thought because you kept showing up even after stumbling. Reframe the memory from threat to teacher, from evidence of your unworthiness to proof of your growth. This doesn't erase the memory, but it fundamentally changes how your brain files it. It moves from the danger category to the learning category. And memories in the learning category don't wake you up at 3 a.m. Step 4. Self-compassion. This is the piece most people skip, and it's the most powerful. When you remember something embarrassing, you often turn on yourself. I'm so stupid. Why did I say that? What's wrong with me? You become your own bully. But research by psychologist Kristin Neff shows that self-criticism activates the same brain regions as external threat. You're literally putting your nervous system into fight or flight mode. You're scaring yourself. Self-compassion does the opposite. It activates the caregiving system, the same neural circuits that respond to a child in distress. It soothes, it calms, it regulates. Try this next time the memory surfaces. Place your hand on your chest, feel the warmth, and say quietly, "That was hard. I was doing my best with what I knew then. I'm still worthy of love and belonging." It might feel awkward at first, almost cheesy, but the research is clear. This simple gesture rewires your stress response. It tells your nervous system you are not under attack. You are safe. You are held. Step 5. Exposure through acceptance. Here's a counterintuitive truth. The more you try to avoid the memory, the stronger it becomes. This is called experiential avoidance in psychology. Suppression backfires. When you tell yourself, "Don't think about it," your brain has to think about it to know what to avoid. It's like saying, "Don't think about a white bear." Too late. Instead, try the opposite. Let the memory come. Don't invite it, but don't slam the door either. Sit with it. Notice the sensations in your body, the tightness in your chest, the heat in your face. Observe them without judgment, without making them mean something about you. Over time, something remarkable happens. The emotional charge begins to fade. Psychologists call this extinction learning. Your brain realizes this memory isn't actually dangerous. It's uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is not the same as danger, and discomfort is survivable. The more you practice this, the less power the memory has. It becomes just another moment, not a defining one. Here's the integration, the simple mental model that ties this all together. Think of your brain as a museum. Every embarrassing memory is an exhibit, a sculpture, a painting, a frozen moment in time. When you were younger, you walked through this museum in terror. You thought the exhibits were alive, that they could reach out and hurt you, that they proved something terrible about who you were. But now you're older, wiser. You're not just a visitor anymore. You're the curator. You decide which rooms to visit and which to walk past. You decide what meaning to give each piece. You decide how long to stand in front of each exhibit. You don't have to burn the museum down. You don't have to pretend the exhibits don't exist. You just have to stop believing they can hurt you. The memories will always be there. That's okay. But their power over you? That's optional. That's yours to reclaim. So the next time you wake up at 3 a.m. and that moment from 10 years ago surfaces uninvited, don't run from it. Don't hate yourself for remembering. Breathe. Place your hand on your chest. Name what you're feeling. Thank your brain for trying to protect you, even if it's misguided. Then gently remind it, "I'm safe now. This is just a memory, not a prophecy, not a verdict, just a moment that happened once and is over." You are not defined by your most awkward moments. You are not the sum of your stumbles. You are defined by how you meet them. With patience, with curiosity, with the quiet knowledge that being human means stumbling sometimes. And that's not something to forget. It's something to forgive every single time.